My cheating wife left me for her college ex, and my daughter called him fairy tale dad, so I vanished quietly. And what followed left them both speechless. I never thought I'd be the guy sitting alone in a dark apartment replaying the moment my whole life shattered. For years, I thought I had a picture-perfect marriage. A wife who smiled for our daughter, a little girl who called me dad like it was the most natural thing in the world. That was us. A family, but one day. Everything cracked. My wife left me. Not for just anyone, but for her college ex, a guy I didn't even know was still in the picture. And my daughter? She started calling this guy fairy tale dad. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how quickly everything changed. I want to start from the beginning because maybe that's where I missed the signs. My wife and I met in our early 20s. We had that whirlwind romance, late-night talks, shared dreams, and then our beautiful daughter, Lily. For years, it was just the three of us. Sure, like any marriage, we had rough patches, but I never thought betrayal was one of them. Then, about 6 months ago, I started noticing small things, late texts, phone calls she hid from me, moments when she looked distant even though we were in the same room. I chalked it up to stress from work and raising a toddler. But deep down, I felt something was off. One night, curiosity, or maybe suspicion, got the better of me. I checked her phone while she was asleep. I'm not proud of it, but that's how it started. There they were, messages from a man named Jake. At first, innocent enough, but as I scrolled, it became clear this wasn't just a casual catch-up. They were making plans to meet, sending love emojis, and sharing memories from their college days. The conversations were intimate and secretive, the kind that made my stomach churn. The worst part? My daughter was already calling Jake Fairy Tale Dad. At first, I thought it was some silly nickname, maybe a game they played. But it quickly became clear this guy had slid into our lives like a shadow I hadn't noticed. One evening, I came home early from work. I wanted to confront my wife to understand what was going on. But instead of finding an empty house or a silent dinner, I walked in on Lily sitting on Jake's lap, giggling, while my wife smiled softly from the kitchen. My daughter looked up at me and said, "Daddy, this is fairy tale Dad." I felt my heart stop. I tried to keep it together for Lily's sake. I sat down, looked Jake in the eye, trying to be civil, but inside I was screaming. How could my wife do this? How could she let my daughter get attached to someone who wasn't her father? And worse, how could she choose him over me, over us? The next few days were a blur of arguments, tears, and confusion. My wife told me she loved Jake, that she was unhappy for years, but never knew how to say it. She said she wanted a fresh start. I asked her, what about Lily? What about me? Her answer? That Lily deserved to be happy too, and Jake was giving her that fairy tale she never had. I wanted to scream, to fight, to beg. But I realized something that broke me more than anything. Lily's loyalty was torn. She didn't want to hurt me, but she loved Jake. She was caught in the middle. The hardest part came when I realized that if I stayed, I'd only make things worse. I was angry, yes, but more than that, I was broken. My daughter needed love and stability, even if it wasn't from me anymore. So I made a decision. I vanished quietly. I didn't leave a dramatic scene, no shouting matches or police calls. I packed a bag, told Lily I loved her, and promised I'd always be there. Just, not right now. I left a note for my wife saying I wasn't going to fight anymore, that I hoped they'd find happiness, but that I needed to heal too. I chose to disappear from their lives to protect my daughter from seeing a broken father, to protect my own sanity, and to give us all space. But even as I walked away, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right with Jake. It was too perfect, too fast. The way my wife suddenly looked happier, the way Lily was so smitten with this fairy tale dad. I started hearing little things, whispers from mutual friends about Jake's past, about his shady behavior. But I didn't want to believe it. Now, months later, I'm out here rebuilding my life piece by piece. I've moved to a new city, found a job that keeps me busy, and most importantly, I'm trying to heal. But what haunts me is this. I vanished quietly, but I didn't disappear completely. Word got back to them, and now, both my wife and Jake are speechless. I don't know if it's because they regret what they did or because they never expected me to walk away without a fight. What comes next? I don't know. But one thing is clear. Sometimes the quietest moves make the loudest statements. Update. When I left, I promised myself one thing. No drama, no public scenes, no bitter social media posts, no endless fights. Just quiet, the kind of silence that lets you breathe again. So I vanished. I moved to a city where no one knew my name, found a new job that demanded my focus. Something simple, honest. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Every morning, I woke up with one goal: rebuild, not just my life, but myself. At first, the quiet felt like a punishment. I was alone, in a small apartment, walls closing in with memories of a life I left behind. The nights were the hardest, when the loneliness crept in and I wondered if I'd made a mistake. But slowly, day by day, I found strength in the routine. The monotony was healing. I stayed off social media entirely. It was tempting to check what they were doing, how my wife and daughter were coping, but I knew it'd only hurt. No messages from me, no calls, just silence. But silence isn't the same as forgetting. Lily's name came up often in conversations with mutual friends. I still trusted. I learned she was confused, her little heart caught between me and this man she called fairy tale dad. It hurt to know she was still attached to Jake, calling him something so innocent and pure. I wondered what stories my wife told her to make that happen, and if Lily knew what she was missing. One night I caught myself staring at an old photo of us three, the way Lily's tiny hand fit perfectly in mine. The memories hit me hard. I thought about the promises I made to her and myself. I had vanished physically, but I was still there in spirit. And that gave me hope. Rumors started reaching me, whispers about Jake's past and present that painted a different picture than the perfect fairy tale my wife portrayed. A few friends mentioned shady business dealings, temper problems, and manipulative behavior. I couldn't believe it at first. I wanted to think he was good for Lily, that my fears were just leftover pain from betrayal, but the cracks were there. Then came the calls. My wife reached out. At first it was tentative. A message here, a phone call there. She wanted to explain, to say she was sorry, maybe to ask if we could try again. I listened quietly, not because I wanted to, but because I owed it to myself to hear her out. She said she missed the family we were, that she thought Jake was the answer but wasn't sure anymore. She spoke about Lily, about the confusion in her eyes, and how the fairy tale might be crumbling. But I was different now. I told her I wasn't the same man who left. I had spent months healing, learning my worth beyond the pain and betrayal. I told her I wasn't interested in going back to what was broken, that Lily deserved a father who would fight for her, not disappear, she pleaded. I stayed firm. Since then, I've heard more about Jake's flaws. Stories of controlling behavior, his inability to hold a steady job, and how he's started distancing himself from people who questioned him. The fairy tale is cracking, and I think my wife is finally seeing it. I'm still processing everything. The loss, the loneliness, the uncertain hope that someday, maybe, Lily will understand what happened. I'm focusing on the future now, on being the man I want to be, not the one I was forced to leave behind. Something tells me this isn't over, that the quiet I chose isn't permanent. I don't know what's coming next, but when it does, I'll be ready. Update: 2 months after I vanished quietly, life started to change, but not in the ways anyone expected. At first, I stayed in the background, content with rebuilding my own life far away from the chaos. But then whispers began to reach me again, louder this time, carrying secrets no one had dared to say aloud before. Jake, the man my wife had left me for, was not the fairy tale dad he pretended to be. The first sign was subtle. A mutual friend told me Jake had been cheating on my wife almost from the start. Secret late-night rendezvous, flirtations with other women, even lies about his job and financial status. Nothing like the responsible man my daughter had started to adore. Then, more disturbing reports came in. His temper, once hidden behind a charming smile, was violent behind closed doors. There were rumors of controlling behavior, emotional manipulation, and even threats against those who questioned him. I could hardly believe it. I had walked away to protect myself and Lily from pain, but now it seemed the danger had only multiplied. My wife's own messages to me grew more desperate and conflicted. She started admitting she was scared, confused, and regretted her choices. The trust she had in Jake was crumbling fast, and with it, her illusions of the fairy tale. One night, she confided that Lily was no longer calling Jake fairy tale dad. The little girl was confused, hurt, her innocent heart shattered by the truth she wasn't prepared for. I heard from Lily's preschool teacher that she had been asking questions about me, about why I wasn't around anymore. She didn't understand why her family had broken apart. Watching her struggle broke me in ways I hadn't imagined. Slowly, I started to re-enter their lives, not through confrontation, not by force, but quietly through mutual friends and the community that had once connected us. I showed up at school events, not as the angry ex, but as a steady, reliable presence. I listened more than I spoke. I let Lily see who I truly was, the father who never left her heart, even if I had left her life for a time. I refused to stoop to revenge or bitterness. That wasn't the man I wanted to be. Instead, I let the truth speak for itself. The cracks in Jake's perfect image widened every day. People began to distance themselves from him. His lies became too heavy to carry. The final blow came when my wife confronted Jake about his betrayals and abusive behavior. Their relationship, once full of hope, collapsed in silence. Both of them were left speechless, isolated by the truth that no amount of charm or deception could mask. Meanwhile, Lily's understanding of what family really means started to shift. It wasn't about fairy tales or perfect pictures. It was about honesty, trust, and unconditional love, things I never stopped offering her. I haven't rushed reconciliation. It's on my terms, when Lily is ready, when she can see me not as a stranger but as her real dad. For now, I'm patient, hopeful, and above all, proud. I won, not by fighting but by walking away and letting truth do the work. This story isn't just about betrayal or loss. It's about resilience, about reclaiming your life when everything falls apart. And I'm just getting started. Final. Update. Closure and new beginnings. It's been almost a year since I vanished quietly from the life I once knew. The life that was tangled in heartbreak, betrayal, and confusion. And while that chapter closed in pain, what followed has been a journey of healing, growth, and unexpected hope. When I walked away, I never imagined I'd find peace so far from the chaos. The new city became a sanctuary, the new job, a distraction, and a purpose. And slowly, day by day, I rebuilt not just my life but my sense of self. I won't pretend the loneliness disappeared overnight. There were moments when I missed Lily so deeply it felt like a physical ache, but I knew vanishing quietly wasn't about abandoning her. It was about protecting her from toxic drama, shielding her innocence from grown-up battles she didn't need to fight. Today, I'm in a better place emotionally. I'm seeing someone who respects my past and supports my future. More importantly, I've started reconnecting with Lily in ways that feel genuine and healing. No pressure, just love. As for my wife and Jake, they're both facing the consequences of their choices. Social circles have shrunk, trust evaporated, and the rumors about Jake's behavior have caught up with him legally and socially. I don't wish them ill. Their actions spoke louder than any revenge could. Lily has grown in ways that surprise me. She understands now that family isn't about fairy tales or perfect pictures. It's about honesty, respect, and unconditional love, values I've never stopped teaching her, even from a distance. People ask me why I vanished quietly instead of fighting or making a scene. The answer is simple. I wanted to protect my daughter and myself from more pain. Sometimes, the strongest move is stepping away, not out of weakness, but because you value peace over chaos. No bitterness lives in me anymore. No desire for revenge. Just gratitude for the strength I found within, for the lessons learned, and for the future ahead. If there's one thing I hope anyone reading this takes away, it's this. Your worth isn't defined by others' betrayals or failures. Family can be complicated, messy, and imperfect, but it can also be a source of healing and hope if you let it. So here I am, stronger than before. My daughter is safe, loved, and growing into an incredible person. And I'm ready to write new chapters, chapters filled with peace, love, and possibility. Thank you for reading and for allowing me to share my story. If you like this, please like the video and subscribe me for more.